All right, Sci-Fi Express Lane. I'm on my way to day 2 of Florida SuperCon, South Florida's biggest comic book convention. Nice audience, everybody showed up. $62 tickets to get in, so you know it's not nothing light to be messed around with. Tables was $300, $1,000 for a booth, big time stuff. That's not what I'm talking about though. What I wanted to talk about is kind of an online conversation that I initiated about the future of science fiction, and how I said that the future of science fiction, or black science fiction, is the future of science fiction. And I put it out there most of the time. I already know what I feel, but I put these things out there to kind of see what other people feel, how will they respond to it, And there's been people that have, for the most part, agreed, right? They've added on. And there's people that just disagree, and those are the people that I'm also curious about. I want to know why the people feel like me, and then I also want to know why do people disagree, and what is their reasons. Shoot, they may have a valid point, and they may have something that I haven't thought about, and that's on both sides, because sometimes I don't think about everything. When it comes down to stuff, I'll be like, wait a minute, that's even a better idea. Like when I was dealing with this Brittany Griner, LeBron James comparison. Of course, you say, okay, he plays for the NBA, she plays for the WNBA. Arguably, I don't remember watching Brittany Griner in high school, but I do remember watching her in college, and she came in like dominating, right? So LeBron came in the NBA dominating. So you think, first, the comparison is if WNBA was bigger, she wouldn't even have to play overseas. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. And then the other thing I thought of was, shoot, LeBron's just a bigger star. You know what I'm saying? Because you could have picked Chris Paul. He's a champion. Well, let's not say Chris Paul. All right. Could have said Kyrie Irving, right? Now, he's infamous, right? But LeBron is like a mega star. He's bigger than the other NBA stars. But the other question is, if it would have been Serena Williams, who has to play, who has to travel to other countries to play because of the nature of her sport, would it have been the same as Brittany Griner? Now that's a different question. So somebody had posted that comment on social media, and it made me think about it differently. I was like, wow. So going back to black sci-fi is the future of sci-fi, right? I post these things because I want to get responses. I want to dialogue, I want to exchange. It's not just for shock value, right? So I think black sci-fi is the future of sci-fi. One, because I think it's been a disenfranchised element of science fiction. I think, there were gatekeepers out there that were bullying black writers to write mainstream similar stories. I think the story arcs that black writers think of are different from the mainstream writers' story arcs and story elements, not just the story arc, right? Elements. And I think that's one. There's I don't think they would like, friendly alien stories, or aliens that come out of Africa, or aliens that that humans come from. I don't know if they'll like that type of story. I'm thinking these were what the gatekeepers were hitting us with, right? And then of course, putting a black character on the cover. But really, the black character on the cover is just a character. It's not the character that I think that the problem is. I think it's the behavior of the character of the character that is the problem. So that is what I think the gatekeepers was keeping away. So that's one reason. And then I think black readers and the black science fiction audience has just been, awakened, right? Because of it not just being space stories, black horror, all these genres, subgenres of science fiction were held back by gatekeepers, and still are to most, to the biggest extent, right? To some extent, maybe not to the biggest, but to some extent. So the readers didn't really have much to read on. Like with me, I like science fiction and I was open to it in high school. Even if I wasn't a big reader, I did not find the story elements appealing. The names of the character, the behaviors of the character, the story, the setup. And I know I like the science fiction because when it's adapted to film and television, that same old story that I didn't like in Foundation, the book, I'm open to it as Foundation, the movie, because the movie is more multicultural. The characters might have been black and brown, but because they have actors acting them out, they act differently than the way the writer wrote them to act in the book. Like Independence Day is a prime example. Another Will Smith one was I, Robot. And these are still only white written stories that have black actors portraying the characters. There's also the element of the black writer. That's the third element. So the first one was the gatekeepers just keeping black stories out, right? And two, the other one is just the black audience not really being primed for it. Now, in the post-Black Panther era, we have all three, right? And still the gatekeepers are slow, because that's how gatekeepers work. It ain't probably personal to black science fiction, but the way they work, they move slow on getting with change, because it's not bankable until it is bankable. And so things just move slow. But when we're looking at all of these new science fiction stories that's coming out, now we see black people coming to the table. Oh, you got Welcome to Boss Ace Plan. I had that for 6 years, Oh, Harlem Shake, that seems interesting. They coming to my table. They saying these things now. They've seen Lovecraft Country. They've seen Man Who Fell from Earth. They've seen these different black science fiction-ish type stories, and now they're ready for a black writer. Now they're ready for a black creator. Now these things are open, and because they're open, you get to see its potential. The potential is now we get to revisit some of these same what-ifs. What if aliens came to Earth? What if the planet got overpopulated? And we get to see black responses to these questions. Mind you, there are not too many new questions out here. So that's another factor, that science fiction itself had gotten stale because we're in the future that they wrote about, and we're not really writing about a further future, further future in years, living on other planets, but, in terms of the elements of the science fiction, sometimes they're the same things. Halo brought something sort of new, but shoot, Foundation was already there. Ender's Game was already there. Starship Troopers was already there, in terms of multi-planetary dilemmas. Now, we do have some good looks at multicultural worlds like The Expanse, but I'm waiting for a black writer to write a Expanse, multi-planeted, political-driven military sci-fi story. That's all in what The Expanse is. So that's going to be interesting. It's the same thing we brought to urban fiction. They were writing about mobsters, and we started writing about our black mobsters. And we came out with thug lover, wives. We have so many different subgenres of urban fiction. It's crazy. So but none of them are new. These are the same type of stories that white writers used to write about and tell when they're crime dramas and crime stories and stuff like that. We just do not only blackface on it, but black interpretations and elements on it, you know. And I don't read a whole ton of urban fiction, but or street lit, but I remember it. It was really big in the early 2000s. So I know what it did to the urban fiction community, and I believe that black science fiction is doing that right now to the world of science fiction. I mean, steampunk is new to steampunk. Steampunk been around for years, but now you throw some black writers in there, what? And now you had cyberpunk. Cyberpunk is a beloved genre, but now you throw some what do you call it? You throw some black writers, they come up with cyberpunk. Now some of these same old stories, robots living in the world around us, science and technology being so dominant, but now what is a black writer going to do with it? Those stories are different, you know. Cyberpunk and robots been around for years. So what's going to be the different element that any writer brings to it? Well, bringing a race as a different element and the culture that comes with the race is beautiful. Very similar to, if you're watching Miss Marvel. Yeah, you get to retell new culture's history, and that is interesting. It's the same trope, same story pace and same story build up. It's an origin story, but she's Indian, she's Pakistani. Oh, it changes everything, because you get to use the Pakistani culture. Now, I don't think they do it good enough, because I think the way they use a Jinn is the way they use Thor, and I don't think these entities are equal, and they don't manifest themselves as the same. But we see all these mainstream writers see every god like the Greek gods, and not all of these gods are equal to, not equal, are do the same things as the Greek gods. The Greek gods are ratchet, sleeping with each other, killing each other. They're worse than the worst humans, murdering each other. But not all cultures' gods do that. Not all cultures worship gods that behave like that. So, there's elements that are standard, or just how you tell stories in the Western world, but the black science fiction world is going to do it. Now, here's my last point. Yeah, there's a whole lot of cultures out here. Native American, even Hispanic, when you're thinking of a Mexican, or even Latino, when you're thinking of Caribbean, think of Africa, right? There's a lot of cultures that's not represented in the mainstream. Pacific Islanders cultures, all those different ones, But why do I say black science fiction is the future and not diversity stories being the future? Well, black people have a unique relationship to the present world, and the present world is something that they feel wasn't fair to them years ago, and so they have this. We have this chip on our shoulder that pushes us to compete, dominate, and respond to years of oppression. So other cultures don't do that. They're like, I submitted my book. Black writers are like, well, damn it, we need to start this thing. We created Spy Funk, which is an anthology that's coming out. We got steam funk. We got cyber funk. We're taking back these elements. We had street lit. You know what I'm saying? We're taking back these elements because we feel that we were deprived of them. Anybody, any culture can come up with a unique version of these genres, because they were all left out. The Native American, the Indian, you know, you didn't need white people to do a Indian superhero, you know, and there's plenty of Indian people from India in America, right? Pakistani and India, you know, Sri Lanka. These people are here, but you know, they're not pushing to have characters speak to them the way black community is. So I think because the black community is a very aggressive community, I think that's why black sci-fi will be the future. And then of course everybody's going to follow, and that's where it's always been. So anyway, like, subscribe, share, and comment. All right, Jeff Carroll, Sci-Fi Express Lane, on my way back to SuperCon, Florida SuperCon.